Hey, what it do, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. It's your host right here. My name's Will, and this is Fandom Frequency, where we dive into the entire multiverse of pop culture, anime, TV, music, movies, and anything in between. We talk about it here on the channel, so make sure you're clicking all those buttons below the video, showing that support, and appreciate all you subscribers coming in and showing mad love to the channel. We appreciate each and every one of you. We're just trying to grow this community every single day, step by step, and see where we can take this thing and just be creative and passionate about what we talk about all the topics that we discuss here on the channel. Today we're diving into the latest Star Wars series. That's right, y'all. Star Wars Skeleton Crew just premiered yesterday evening, the first two episodes in a little double premiere, and I love when TV series have been doing this lately. It gives you a good bit of a blend of week to week and a little bit of a binge, so that way you can get a sense if you like the show, but also gives you more of that cooler week to week and build for the show. Better for them to get more hype on it, more eyes on it. Better for us fans because we get to dive into this for several weeks, have a lot of fun, really breaking everything down, Easter eggs, all that other good stuff. And as the episodes progress, I'm going to actually be revisiting the episodes. So that way, by the end of this thing, I might actually do a little bit of a breakdown to kind of dive into some more of the lore and things going on in the actual TV series, things like that. A little tougher to do it for movies, but we're definitely going to start trying to transition into doing that for some of these TV series and stuff like that. You know, trying something different on the channel. We've done screen breakdowns for the trailers and things like that. So we definitely will be diving into some of that, I think, for this show. And overall, I got to say that my thoughts of the show, I really dug it, man. Overall, it was a really solid premiere. I really like it. I definitely liked the second episode more than the first. We'll definitely dive into why as I kind of break down each episode, so to speak, and kind of recap some of the big plot points and things that I dug about it and things that went down and where some of the things can go. But overall, I really dug this premiere. I really like that you get a sense of adventure, a sense of wonder, and a sense of just real fun with the show, especially in episode 2. I think you get a really good sense of that, and the kids going on some crazy adventure on accident, getting lost somewhere in space and not being able to find their way back home, or just getting lost in general. Does make it somewhat kind of scary for the kids and give them some real stakes because they don't know where they are. Everything's new to them. Everything's mysterious. So that aspect of it, I really dug for the storytelling. And being in the world of Star Wars is a great world and a great backdrop to do that in. So I think that was another really cool part of the show. And the true essence of like the weirdness and the kind of out there nature that Star Wars brings, and the planets and the creature and the aliens and the lived in feel was definitely very strong in the second episode, and I really dug the vibe of that. There were some elements of the first episode I thought felt too much like being on a set, or it looked a little bit too much like regular suburbia, places that some of us live or grew up in. So I think that's a little bit too on the nose. You know what I'm saying? I get they're going for that kind of feel, the Amblin thing, just another, day in the suburbs, kids living a very, quote unquote normal life, and then things pop off and something fantastical happens and they get whisked off on this adventure. So I get what they're trying to go for, and overall that's still pretty well executed. I do think some of the set design and stuff in the first episode, some of those elements did feel a little more corny to me. I even felt, not the set part, but I felt that way about the suburbia, kind of too much of a modern normal feel. I did feel that when it came to the first episode and the overall trailer, which ended up being a lot of the footage from this first episode. Overall, I think there's definitely stuff obviously set on their home planet. I forget the name at the moment, but on their home world where this is set, I think there's definitely some clips from other episodes with their parents trying to find them and realizing they're gone and whatnot, as we've seen so far. So I do think those elements are going to come back around, and we'll see what's up. But the overall adventure angle of it, and where the kids are whisked off on this adventure and now run into Jude Law's character at the end of the second episode, I really dug the way they revealed his character, and us not really knowing what his deal is and how he kind of fits into the overall tapestry of the Jedi and the Sith, and kind of how that makes sense falling into this place in the timeline, because this is set around the first the 3 seasons of Mandalorian. So in the Mandalorian timeline, in between Return of the Jedi and geez Louise, what the hell is wrong with me? The Force Awakens, geez Louise, between those two movies. So it's set in that time frame. We're supposed to be getting some Heir to the Empire type of crossover event and things of that nature. That's what Ahsoka and all these other things are building to. And the Mandalorian and Grogu movie could really set that up quite nicely as well. Filoni was at one time supposed to get his own movie, but not sure exactly how that's going to pop off or if it's going to happen anymore. Because y'all know with any Star Wars, anything that's a movie, who the fuck knows if it's actually going to happen. So all that's all up in the air. But at the moment, where this plays and where it's set in the timeline, not quite sure how Jude Law is going to fit into it, but I still am intrigued by it. Still want to let the show play out and see how they explain it, see how he plays in, and see kind of what happens and what the whole significance and purpose of him being a Jedi in this overall thing is, other than maybe getting these kids out of some certain situations they couldn't survive otherwise. I don't know. Might just come down to a writing thing. Might just be an inspired choice to throw the Jedi in here. Might tie into the overall Thrawn stuff. Ahsoka, I don't know. But in general, I'm digging that character for what we've seen briefly so far, and I like the show that they're setting up and the overall kind of family film vibe that you get, the Amblin vibes that they're going for, those 80s, 90s movies. I think overall they're pretty successful with it, and I think they have nowhere to go but up in this for sure because it's good, but I think it could be great. But I don't necessarily see them falling in their face too much if they don't get too ambitious with this because it doesn't feel like they are. So now as we dive into some individual elements of the overall episode so far, I really dug the opening pirate sequence with this mysterious character that got mutinied by the end of the whole ordeal when they're attacking the ship to get these imperial credits that are, and obviously credits being worth a lot with the New Republic being in power and control right now. But they literally only had one on the ship. There was nothing there, so they ended up mutinying this guy with the mask, and the wolf kind of looking guy, he ends up becoming the captain and he takes over because I think he was the second mate or whatever. So with that going down, I really dug the vibe of that sequence too. It didn't feel like necessarily like Andor or something like that, but it felt very much in that kind of tone for the most part. It wasn't too like kiddish or over the top. It did make these pirates feel like legitimate threats. It did make them feel like this piracy is a legitimate problem going on in the galaxy right now as they're trying to settle in to the New Republic post Return of the Jedi, however long this is, maybe 15 years or so, similar to the Mandalorian. But either way, I really dug the sequence overall and thought it had a really cool vibe, especially for the first episode. I think being the weaker of the two, I think this was a great way to kick things off. And overall, with the kids discovering the ship at the end of the first episode as well, I thought all that was really fun and really gave you that Amblin vibe, but never felt like it was pulling you out of the world of Star Wars to do it, or it was pulling you out of your experience in order to do it and just shoehorning it in. It feels very much organic and a part of the story. It's about kids. It's about their perspective. It's about them traveling and learning about the galaxy in the Star Wars world and learning about things in the New Republic era and figuring out why their homeworld is so sought after and so mysterious and kind of has this legend to it that they weren't even aware of since they haven't been anywhere away from home or outside of their planet. So they're kind of sheltered in a little bit of a bubble. And I think being inside those kind of sheltered communities in the world of Star Wars is always hella interesting. So that to me was such a cool vibe. And then discovering the ship and getting into hyperspace and all that. Really fun stuff. At first, I wasn't quite sure about it from the trailer, but I actually really dug the sequence and the way that this first episode ended and tease it up for the second episode. I thought was actually really, really well done overall. And we're getting to know the kids, getting introduced to the girl that likes to, she's like top of her class, but she likes to race and she has a bit of a rebellious streak. Chilling out with her girl with the visor glasses or whatever, looking like she came out straight out of Star Trek, which to me was kind of trippy. And then you have the kind of the main kid, the black kid, who's kind of dealing with, just wanting to get out there like like kind of like Luke Skywalker having those ambitions to get out there and explore the galaxy and do some cool stuff and even maybe be a Jedi himself and protect those out there and go on this adventurous type lifestyle. So just wanting to get away from that boring normal thing. And I can relate to that when I was a kid as well. You know what I'm saying? Even though now we all miss it, right? So I think that's all kind of the fun element of that character and his friend, the elephant looking alien dude, which I dig how he's not a humanoid really, how he does look like a straight up weird alien type creature thing. I think it's really awesome to put that at the forefront. Rarely do they ever do that in Star Wars and all that good stuff. So yeah, first episode, pretty damn good, had some good moments to it, but overall wasn't loving it. But the second episode is where things definitely picked up quite a bit for me, where it really felt like we were immersed in the world of Star Wars once they get to this unknown planet that very much has this like very gritty underworld kind of Blade Runner vibe to it. Similar to like a planet we visited, I think either in Mandalorian or Andor. I can't quite remember right now, but it reminds me of a planet we've been to. Oh no, sorry, not Andor. Rise of the The Rise of Skywalker or whatever, episode 9. My bad. That was the planet I was thinking of. That Poe Dameron went to meet up with that with Kerry Russell's character that chick he used to date or whatever, with the cool looking helmet. But anyways, I digress. So they're on this crazy, weird Blade Runner-esque world, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to get directions to get home, how they're going to be able to navigate this area with all these strangers and weird people and seemingly seedy characters. You know what I'm saying? Some shady guys and gals and creatures out there doing shit. This lady comes up to two of them. She's like, "Hey, you kids are not supposed to be here. There's no kids here. I gotta help get you guys to safety and all this shit." And I'm like, "Yo, lady, you're trying to fucking kidnap us. Get the hell away from here." Like, I'm not going with that. And I really dug that about the characters too. They're not so sheltered to where they're completely naive, which I do appreciate. The elephant alien kid kind of is, but overall, most of them aren't quite as naive. So I do appreciate that. He's the only one that kind of is. Everyone else has a little bit of a sense of like, yeah, I'm not going to give you guys all this information about myself or anything like that and tell you where I'm from and all this other shit. He starts yapping at the bar and running his mouth and getting them in the trouble. And that's when they figure out that their homeworld is actually somewhere like an El Dorado-esque type thing in the overall galaxy and in the overall world of Star Wars. It's like, this is like a place where it has like riches and value. And to a certain point, that's true, but maybe not in the exact mystified kind of rumored way that it's kind of been blown up out of proportion. But maybe it is, and low key, we just don't know that because that's what those people are kind of hoarding there. And that's why they kind of have a bit of a secret society in that sense, where they don't want the whole galaxy to know they're on the map and they want to be off the grid. You know what I'm saying? And maybe for good reason too. You know what I mean? They might not want people targeting them about that and all that other stuff when they work hard and do things and kind of keep their society built a certain way. And hey, we came here, we've had it first, it's ours. You know what I'm saying? So to a certain degree, you do understand that perspective too. But it does make it really interesting to see what that all means in the New Republic and what really might be at the center of this mystery and why their homeworld is as kind of as popular or as sought after as it really is. So that's a cool mystery setup for all the characters to discover together. And I think that's a really core element of these adventure movies with kids and stuff like that, having this mystery or this big reveal or having this thing of discovery that they all kind of go through together. And I think in the world of sci-fi, in the world of Star Wars, that's a perfect way to kind of tee things up and bring things even further. You know what I mean? And just getting to explore this weird world and getting to see all these really cool alien creature designs and everything like that really made the episode a really good time and fun to watch. But then they end up getting locked in the brig when they get caught, and that's when they run into Jude Law's character, who ends up getting the key using the Force in order to get them out of there. And I'm sure he's obviously going to be the one to break them out in episode 3 and kind of begin our adventure and him be their be their escort home and kind of help them get there in one piece. So team that all up for the season, I thought was really good and was really economic and pretty well executed overall in these first 2 episodes. And like I said, my only real issue with it was I think they do rush you to kind of by default like the kids in the first episode. The world doesn't feel quite as lived in, does feel a bit too familiar in certain instances, but overall the show does feel a bit refreshing. Doesn't feel like every single thing we've seen in the world of Star Wars. So I do really appreciate that element of the show as well. And I really dug this show, man. It's really good. I think if you're a Star Wars fan, you should definitely check it out, especially if you have kids or younger siblings or nieces, nephews, and things of that nature. I definitely think you should watch this with them and have a really good time. But I do think adults and teenagers alike can enjoy this show if they're into those movies like the Goonies or grew up with those kind of movies and stuff like that. Indiana Jones and all these other adventure films. I think you can really get into the vibe of this, especially if you're a diehard Star Wars fan. I think the show is going to be enjoyable for you. Maybe not top, maybe not like that Andor level, Mandalorian, whatever, but I think it will be something that you will enjoy watching. You won't exactly feel like you're wasting your time over, and I think will find its overall place in the Star Wars universe and will fit in nicely. It won't necessarily have to be a necessary stop on your roadmap through the world of Star Wars, but if you want to take that detour and have a good time, I think it's going to be worth the watch. But y'all make sure you let me know what you thought about this premiere of Skeleton Crew in these first couple episodes. If you really dug it, if you were somewhere in between, or you didn't like it at all, I would love to hear your opinion down below in those comments and discuss it with you guys. We're going to be doing these episode reviews every single week for the recap show. So make sure you guys come back every single, should be pretty much every Tuesday morning or afternoon, the latest. We should be doing these reviews because normally I'm working on Mondays a lot of the time. But if I'm not working on a Monday evening and I'm free, I can definitely get these episodes out a little bit quicker. So between Monday evening and Tuesday afternoon, you should be seeing these weekly reviews for Star Wars Skeleton Crew. We got some other fun stuff we're going to be doing before we get into all the rankings and everything, transitioning us into 2025 for all the top movies and TV shows, and hey, maybe even albums as well. We're going to be doing a lot of different music coverage on the channel and some other fun niche content that we always like to do. We always like to mix it up around here. We got some fun releases coming out this month, like Sonic 3 and Nosferatu. So we got some cool shit coming up, and we got some good stuff we're going to be discussing on the channel, Squid Game, all that jazz. So until next time, make sure you stay safe out there. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video, and we'll catch you again on the next recap next week, y'all, for episode 3 of Skeleton Crew. But until then, peace.